what I've been doing is I've been writing the script for this Notel comic, which is quite a major project, and I've actually realized that it's such a major project that instead of trying to hold people's attention for the 60 to 70 pages that it'll probably end up being, I'm actually going to split the comic into 3 sections. So the first comic will be called Notel, the second comic will be called Unitel, and the third comic will be called Multitel. And that actually reflects the way that Tannis MacBeth, the professor from the University of British Columbia, the way that she actually conducted this experiment was comparing not only just Notel, it was comparing 3 different towns that had different amounts of television reception. So the town Notel initially had no television reception at the start of the project. There was another town called Unitel, which began only with the government CBC TV station. And then there was another town called Multitel, which had CBC as well as the 3 American networks. So she used those 3 towns as kind of a control to make sure that what she was observing in the Notel town wasn't some fluke. She wanted to compare it to the rest of Canadian society.
Awesome. So how many pages are you anticipating each of these comics to be?
Well, I know that I've only got you, my interns, for the next 2 weeks, so I'm really conscious about getting the first comic, which is Notel, prepared. That one's looking like it's going to be 22 pages long, and I think the others will be of a similar length, so roughly 20 something pages per comic. So I'm probably looking at a 60 to 70 page comic in total here.
So what stage are you at now with the comic process?
Yep. So what I've done is I've, as you've seen with the videos that we've done so far, I got all of the ideas, every single thing that I wanted to include in this project, all the facts and all of the commentary that I wanted to make about this project. I got them in basically the order that I wanted them to be in, just making sure that everything I wanted to include in the comic was there. And then I sort of found the logical points where I'd be trimming this story so that each of them ideally can work as a self-contained comic, but will also work as part of this trilogy of stories that I'm working on. So what I did is I made sure I got all of the facts together, I wrote it up in a big Microsoft Word document, and then found the natural points to divide these comics up. I've now moved on to the storyboarding stage of the process. I think there's sort of one thing seeing my words with the black text on the white background of my Microsoft Word file, that there's kind of something to what happens when I get to the storyboard process and I see what it looks like to have my white text on the black boxes, because that's sort of my trademark look that I've got with all my other comics. So it's really getting to this process of atomizing all the ideas of the comics and putting it out there in this familiar format, but I think it's also going to be a really exciting process.
So what's the plan from here now that you've got your storyboard printed out?
Yeah, so what I do at this stage is, well, I get it all happening digitally. I know how many pages how many ideas I can fit on a page without completely overwhelming things, and then I space things out nicely. And then what I do at that stage is print out the pages, and I have the paper versions that I can literally take away to some quiet place where I'm free from all distractions and just really brainstorm what the images are going to look like at that stage. So of someone maybe in an office, like one of the researchers of the Notel comic, or maybe a movement shot, like for example it might be someone walking down a hallway, or it might be someone driving a car. I tend to normally have those kind of ideas, and then at this stage I look through a whole lot of reference images, whether it's of the particular psychologists who are doing this study, or whether I look at reference images of Canadian towns from the 1970s and putting them together into these storyboards.
Do you always go through the process where you draw out your comics on paper first before going to the digital tablet and doing that there?
Yeah, well, I think it tends to be a good idea to mess with the medium that I'm seeing things in. You know, whether I'm looking at a digital document with all the text, just a little tweak like changing the font from one font to another font, it means I'm looking at the words in a different way. or if I'm going from seeing it digitally on the screen through to seeing what it looks like printed on paper. Just all those different ways of looking at things tends to give me different ideas for how I could tweak this to make it the best comic that it could be.